The 10 most, OMG, science discoveries of 2022. Like all of us, science has had a rough few years. The coronavirus pandemic overwhelmed the news, and the most urgent scientific discoveries became matters of political controversy. There didn't seem to be much to celebrate, or even think about outside the pandemic. And now that the cloud COVID-19 cast on everyday life has begun to lift somewhat, it's clear that there have been some pretty amazing scientific discoveries this year. When miners in Canada discovered an animal frozen within the permafrost, they quickly called experts. None of them were prepared for what emerged. University of Calgary researchers were stunned when it was determined to be a female baby woolly mammoth, about 30,000 years old, with perfectly preserved toenails, skin, trunk, and hair, the best preserved woolly mammoth ever found in North America. A study published in August revealed that scientists had found 88 fossilized footprints belonging to adults and children, likely dating back 12,000 years, in shallow Utah riverbeds. It's just the second set of human tracks from the Ice Age to be identified in the United States. The first was in 2021. They suggest humans occupied the area 7,500 years earlier than previously thought, and that could shake up our current understanding of how humans evolved. NASA smashed a spacecraft, known as DART, directly into an asteroid in September. Their aim? To see if such a collision could knock the asteroid off its orbit, something that could protect Earth from an apocalyptic asteroid strike, like the one that wiped out the dinosaurs millions of years ago. The $325 million craft, about the size of a vending machine, was directed at the asteroid Dimorphos, about 6.8 million miles away from Earth. It slammed into the space rock at 14,000 miles an hour and was destroyed instantly. The mission seems to have been successful, nudging Dimorphos off its previous orbit. Australian researchers say they've grown brain cells in a lab that have learned to play the vintage video game Pong. The mini-brains they created can sense and respond to their environment. Dr. Brett Kagan said his team had created the first sentient brain grown in a lab. "We could find no better term to describe the device," he said. In the experiment, researchers grew human brain cells from stem cells and mouse embryos into a mini-brain consisting of 800,000 cells. They connected the mini-brain to Pong via electrodes that indicated which side the ball was on and how far from the paddle it was. Upon viewing the video game, the cells produced electrical activity, said the scientists, who gave the cells feedback on whether they were hitting the ball or not. The mini-brain learned to play the game in 5 minutes, the researchers said. It frequently missed the ball, but its connection rate was higher than random chance. It's called covert consciousness, a state in which the brain reacts to the outside world with some comprehension, but the body remains unresponsive. Scientific American reported that as many as 15 to 20% of patients who appear to be in a coma exhibit this kind of internal awareness when monitored with technology that can measure brain activity. This is changing scientists' understanding of comas and other unresponsive states. Studies have found that people whose covert consciousness is detected early have a greater chance of full, functional recovery. This is very big for the field, a neuroscientist said about the first major study of the phenomenon. The world's second largest sheet of ice, also known as Greenland, seems to be disappearing faster than scientists previously thought. Warmer ocean waters and rising air temperatures have accelerated the Arctic lands melting. According to a study published in the journal Nature Geoscience, Greenland is losing about 250 billion metric tons of ice each year. Warm air causes the surface of the ice sheet to melt, and the runoff is deposited into the oceans. Scientists say this churns the waters, which causes heat to rise from the oceans and further warm the waters that touch the ice. Scientists are particularly concerned about the effects that a melting ice sheet could have on some coastal U.S. cities, such as New York City, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and New Orleans. These popular metro areas could become underwater cities if ice sheets melt enough to raise the sea level significantly. The European Space Agency says there are more than 30,000 near-Earth asteroids, NEAs, in the solar system. They're space rocks, occasionally huge ones, that revolve around the Sun on paths relatively close to Earth's orbit. And 1,425 of them have a non-zero chance of hitting the Earth. Of the 30,039 NEAs, about 10,000 are larger than 460 feet in diameter, and 1,000 are larger than 3,280 feet in diameter. The 1,425 that have a non-zero chance of impact are being watched closely by astronomers. Possibly comforting, on average, Earth is hit by a large asteroid every 5,000 years and a civilization-ending asteroid every 1 million years, says NASA. In October, CBS News reported that 1 billion crabs have disappeared from Alaska in the last 2 years, and experts aren't sure why. The decline is so severe that Fish and Game officials have cancelled the upcoming winter crab season for the first time in state history, and the economy is likely to take a $200 million hit. Disease is a potential explanation. Climate change is another. NOAA indicates that Alaska is the fastest warming state in the US, and crabs need cold water to survive. Miranda Westphal, a biologist with Alaska's Fish and Game Department, said that between 2018 and 2019, the Bering Sea was extremely warm and the snow crab population kind of huddled together in the coolest water they could find, she said. When the water warms, their metabolism increases, spurring them to eat more. In a study published in the journal Nature this October, scientists injected human nerve cells into the brains of rats. They found that those neurons continued to grow, forming connections with their host's brain cells and guiding their behavior. Those cells ultimately grew to comprise 1/6 of the animal's brains. The ultimate goal of this work is to begin to understand features of complex diseases like schizophrenia, autism spectrum disorder, bipolar disorder, Paula Arlotta, a Harvard neuroscientist, told NPR. But some scientists are nervous. At what point does a rat implanted with human cells cease to be a rat? And could the process create, highly capable, super rats? Scientists say they've found evidence that men age faster than women, and men are biologically 4 years older than women by the time they're 50 years old. This aging gap also exists between men and women in their 20s. Researchers in Finland looked at 2,240 twins in 2 age groups, those between 21 and 42 years of age and those between 50 and 76. Using the epigenetic clock, a biochemical test used to measure age, the scientists compared each person's chronological age to how old the epigenetic clock said they are biologically.
Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe so you know about the hottest and latest news in science.